You believe that she picked you because you're due to your loyalty and respect. You are nice. Most people will tell that as their first lie. Never listen to this, not because it's difficult to comprehend, but since it was difficult to accept what Freud showed us. It's what you do, not what you show her. Cause a reaction in her, and if you do not recognize that one day you will be adored and overlooked the next most important reality. Let me tell you something that men never hear. Most males don't comprehend how uncomfortable women, not because they are insurmountable to comprehend, but because males are staring in the wrong direction. They concentrate on words, bring joy and emotions, but Freud looked deeper, and what he discovered was prohibited. A woman doesn't always know, he remarked. What she wants, since she desires, exists in her subconscious. This theory was so potent that it was dark. They buried it because it scared people, but I'm going to unearth it again today, and you'll see the reality behind it when I do. Her disarray, her silence, her love, and perhaps never fall in love with the wrong lady. Once more, the unconscious governs her. Allow me to share something with you that will alter your perception of women for the rest of your life. What dictates a woman's conduct doesn't reside beneath it in her mind. According to her ideas, Freud thought that women, similar to how men, are influenced by the unconsciously, which indicates that they are not constantly conscious of the reasons behind their actions, why they feel a certain way, and why they make a decision. Why would someone damage something that made them happy once? You've most likely been indoctrinated to think of women as soft, mildly sentimental, but in a straightforward and honest how you interpret her declaration of love, you believe she meant it forever. But when she is upset and understands why you believe, her emotions are always intertwined to reason or logic. Yet Freud stated something different. A lady is not always in charge of her cravings, because she doesn't get her desire from reasoning that originates from a deeper source, the portion of the mind known as the unconscious mind. We don't realize it holds our history, suffering, our early recollections, and our secret fantasies, our psychological scars, and for this area of the mind has numerous women greater strength than the portion they can truly see, which is why you could have saw an oddity in your relationships. She's in love at one point. She calls you her when she is really with you, world her true love, but the next week she grows aloof, perplexed, and she cannot explain why she seems to be. The twist is that she's not lying. She simply doesn't completely understand why she is lying. Her emotions shifted since even she does not comprehend her unconscious. Her love doesn't follow what her head is doing. Logic adheres to patterns shaped by her fears, pain, and past. Her cravings. So when she withdraws, when she picks a fight without any apparent cause, when she says one thing but acts in another way, on the contrary, it's not necessarily a trick, not always a test, but rather an impending reaction from an area she is unable to see completely. This is why did Freud tell males, don't listen to, pay attention to what she says and observe how she observes what draws her in. That's you have to go where the truth resides. Recognize that what she says doesn't always her feelings, and her feelings isn't usually her preference. You might inquire, then how do I know what's real? By observing her patterns, you can intensity in her. actions when things don't work out. Her use of language can be lovely, poetic, and elegant. However, her unconscious talks and cannot lie. By movement, feeling, and abrupt quiet shifts, here is where the actual truth lies. Conceals, so if you're a dude who thinks you will always be what she says, you'll always chase her because you're confused. Sentiments, hoping they remain unchanged, but if you end up becoming the man who observes her, the man who comprehends her on a deeper level, you don't have to ask her to clarify. Turn into the uncontrollable man. You don't respond because of her perplexity. Watch how you lead as you are now realize that reason does not govern her. Something more profound governs her. And if her unconsciousness is not readily seen, you will continue to fall for what's only on the surface. She wants power, not tranquility. Something that many men never know till it's too late when you meet a woman who is honest with you about what she desires: peace and a decent man. Desires stability, safety, loyalty, and a nice man. And you show her kindness by spending time with her. Your heart, yet she quickly withdraws, becomes disinterested, and ignores your communications. She begins to appear aloof and chilly, without justification, leaving you perplexed. You did what she asked. What did I do wrong? Said that you didn't give her what she wanted, what her subconscious really longs for. But knowing this, Freud remarked, she may request for tranquility, but her unconsciousness is power-hungry. This is the dark truth. Certainty is boring but safe. Kindness is admirable but dependable. And the unconscious mind, particularly the female, the unconscious doesn't want things to be predictable. Desires something more vibrant, riskier, and more emotionally charged. She desires to be profoundly affected, shocked, and startled to find oneself dragged into something larger than she is, which is why the man she might be grateful to whoever brings her serenity. However, the man who bestows onto her strong emotional encounters are what she cannot stop contemplating. Pay close attention to how she reacts to, not only in you, but also in other people. The man who does not immediately respond to the man, who does not justify himself, a man who remains calm despite her irrational behavior. The man who makes her question, is he in need of me? Considering me, is it possible for me to reach him? That ambiguity leads to emotional gravity, which draws her in and stimulates her. It compels her to pursue her emotional body. Considering that chasing is an act of desire, she has strong emotions as a result, even if they are painful. And the subconscious likes intense feelings than none at all. This is the reason why so many good guys receive abandoned. Not because they lack strength, not because they're dull individuals, but since they don't elicit strong feelings, they are too simple for her to comprehend, too easily to manage available. On an emotional level, and when there's no emotional obstacles to her gradual desire, a woman might say, guys understand this. She desires safety, but she is unconscious. Frequently wishes for a storm to spare her, but to give her a sense of life. What do you play, or do you turn cruel? No, gains don't make you cold. Gain strength by speaking less and moving less. You definitely don't chase. Instead, you not justify you. Instead, let your presence speak anything. You allow your energy to say more powerful than words. Since when a man gets too simple to comprehend, he loses. When mystery dies and his mystery, when desire strikes, Give up trying to be the ideal man. She claims to desire and again to transform into the man who is unconscious, not forgetting, because you provided her with peace. But since you were in charge without never having to say, she tests it without you knowing. May be perplexed by this one day when she's playing with warm software, the next day, cold. In the distance, you ask yourself, did I do? Why is she upset now? Is there something wrong? Is she retreating now that things were going good at last? You begin. You send lengthy text because your overanalyzing attempt to correct it. But here's the reality. Freud, few men ever understand that she doesn't always understand the purpose of her tests. As it's not a deliberate plan, she has an unnoticed pattern. The unconscious is constantly looking for something substantial for a genuine man who refuses to give up under duress. So when she initiates a dispute based on nowhere, when she makes a nasty remark, when she doesn't seem to care, she's not attempting to harm you. Instead, she's looking for your center and wants to, I'm not sure if I can move him or shake him. Can I make him chase me based on how I'm feeling? If yes, if you fold and if you receive emotional, if you respond with an argument, she perceives weakness in chase. Not. Because it's not because she despises you that she is cruel, but because of something that lies deep within her desires to have faith in you, and she must sense your strength, not your might. Not strength in your voice, but in your physique, but mental structure and emotional strength. She's curious about inner leadership. Can when I can't even hold, this man holds me? Will he remain composed even if I'm in turmoil? That's why your silent is more potent under strain than any words, which explains your lack of response. Turns into your most attractive feature. Keep your cool if she sobs or pulls away. If she attempts to start, give her room. Drama, don't engage in the game, and keep your ground to demonstrate to her, not to punish her, that you are unwavering, since she will know she unable to regulate your feelings. She at last feels secure enough to give up hers. You become that. Brother, and the anchor in her storm is when she shows you the most respect. Thus give up attempting to justify yourself. Responding to each test, cease pursuing where there was always tranquility. She doesn't require your help to mend her feelings. Must believe that yours aren't dominated by hers, which is the type of strength that she so desperately needs, and the type that the majority of males will never. Let me explain why most men remain blind. Explain why the majority of men remain trapped in the same agonizing cycle with female confusion. It hurts to ponder what went wrong. Since the majority of men trust words more than here's how energy often occurs. She says, I love you. You're the ideal person for me. She says, I just want one. And you think it's true, because it feels like you want to nice. Since her statements seem accurate at least then, but this is what you words must be easy to understand. Particularly in love, particularly when she's experiencing a pleasant or thrilling emotion in the instant. But her words in the next day could bring about a transformation. She is kind, loving, and affectionate. She is as chilly and aloof as a stranger to you. Question: did I do something incorrectly? Why, if when she declared her love, she withdrew? Why does she act as though I've never? This is the blinding anguish. That matters. The majority of males believe that love is a given, created with words, yet the reality is there. In her words, Freud, desire does not exist. Realized this and was aware that women enjoy. Every human being is directed by the unconscious doesn't converse with words. It communicates with energy and behaviors and recurring patterns themselves repeatedly, which is why the man she says she loves is capable of abruptly lost her visibility because something draws her unconscious attention. Deeper emotion, a challenge, or a feeling. The unconscious mind longs for an unknown mystery. Not assurance nor intensity, regular attendance, not merely assurances. Men don't perceive this because they think it's as long as they act and speak appropriately the proper things, she will remain. However, this is what Freud would say. Pay attention to more than just what she says. She watches the things that appeal to her. The truth resides in other places. If she expresses that she desires love, although her behavior demonstrates that she's always pursuing men who offer her uncertainty, is revealed by actions. Her actual preferences if she claims to want a decent man, but he consistently selects the person who the patterns that present a challenge to her if she says she wants to tell the truth. Tranquility, but causes havoc elsewhere relationship. It's what gives her energy. Decisions that reveal her true self. So stop letting the appearance deceive you. Believing everything I adore, you begin to look more closely, observe her behavior when she's irate. Observe her whereabouts when she's bewildered by the types of men who make her sense something, which is where the unconscious mind, is the source of the reality. Is that once you get this, you stop being offended by what she says. Quit being confused by her feelings. Alter. You cease to be the man who's constantly abandoned rather than seeing the game behind the scenes. You become the man who doesn't play the game. Pursue, since he is already aware of the man she is with is the true tale. Cannot forget the man she can't control. She respects the man even when she doesn't quite get how to see without harboring hatred toward her. To set the record straight, it has nothing to do with detesting women, accusing them as being sentimental or cryptic or difficult to comprehend. It's about seeing them well without losing. You witness the majority of men in the process move in one of two directions. They either become thus perplexed by her actions that they are pursuing her sentiments, or they become irate, and women who think bitterly are simply deceptive or manipulative. But the reality is, furthermore, Freud showed us that much of what is driven by the unconscious women experience abrupt mood changes, alters their desire for males who make individuals experience intense feelings, but it's not constantly whatever she decides to do on purpose. It's a component of who she is. Even she could not comprehend completely, and you stop taking it when you see this. When she pulls, everything is very intimate. Away, so you don't freak out when she begins drama. You don't retaliate with rage when she makes a hurtful statement. Do not feel compelled to disprove her. Instead, you remain firm and motionless. You remain composed and understand that you are not the focus of emotional storms. They are about her history, and her anxieties, concealed requirements, which is where your true power starts, because the majority of men respond by they pursue her in an attempt to mend her feelings. Emotions they attempt to demonstrate that they're adequate for her, but when you don't comprehend her unconscious, no longer have to do that, you're free. You turn into the man who can observe her storm and avoid being carried away by it. You turn into the man who doesn't give up when she puts you to the test with a man you don't need to give an explanation each time. She's the man who can see right through her is offended, upheaval, and continues to remain resilient because a woman doesn't respect the truth. A man who loses himself in her emotions admires the individual who maintains his composure. No, regardless of her emotions, she adheres to the guy who doesn't have to defend. She remains with the man who is able to manage her without attempting to exert authority over her, due to the fact that when a man can contain her storm without losing his own core, she feels secure in his company at last, sufficient to let her guard down safely enough to remember to open up safely enough to trust. This has nothing to do with hatred, but rather gaining knowledge releases you. Knowing makes you strong. You are the one who can understand. Take the lead without ever having to pursue, and she always remembers that man wants to be trusted, not take charge. Nowadays, women are expected to take the lead, to be powerful and in charge, but profound many ladies are fed up with it. Wants to unwind and let go of her desires to believe she can rely on the man next to her, although she is unable to do so. If you're not sure whether you're pursuing, if you constantly react in ways that she doesn't want, to bear the emotional burden she desires, according to Freud, when a lady can at last give up after discovering the tranquility she was unaware she was lacking, and only takes place while the male is more powerful than her emotions and unconscious, propels the relationship. The majority of men are unaware of she is not adhering to a plan. Instead, she is after a tug on her unconscious thoughts, dominates the majority of the relationship, who she decides why she departs and why she remains. If you're not aware of her inner code, you'll feel betrayed, bewildered, and hurt. But learning to read her emotions are messages rather than words. You'll start to guide her emotions without the fact that that brother is real and forcing it authority. The man who comprehends never chases after you comprehend her unconscious. You give up seeking acceptance. When she tests you, you don't fold. Don't break when she becomes aloof. Avoid defending yourself when she behaves remote. Why? If you are aware of what's taking place below the surface, and when you are aware of the reality, you don't attempt to alter who you are. Simply quit altering who you are to please others. When she respects you, that's when she senses your weight at that moment. She takes after you without having to final phrases that you were never instructed in truthful information, and that wasn't an accident. They didn't want it to happen. Wants you to be powerful, clear, or assured, that desired for you to feel softly perplexed and constantly pursuing someone or anything, whether it's approval of love or they wanted you to feel uncertain. Due to the fact that a man who is confusion is simple to manage, but you are no longer that man. Something changed. Now, once you've witnessed the reality with yourself, you've begun to recognize how things actually operate. You've examined beneath the surface and observed that you now comprehend the code underneath the pandemonium. That people say, particularly, what women say is frequently not entirely accurate. You've developed the ability to read the energy that scents the silences and body language. You've witnessed her unintentional behavior. Talk louder than her kind words. And the actual query today is, would you put all of this aside and return to sleep? Are you going to be the man who couldn't plainly see who was reacting? Continue to hope and pursue, Or will you remain